everybody, welcome to today's video, and we are going to get started. And my mom is supposed to be watching me pull in, and instead she's just talking to the neighbor. Mom, hello? Mom, 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 mom. I'm trying to start the video, Mom, and you're not paying attention.
You weren't either.
It's so cat, bro.
Yeah, bruh. That was so crazy, bruh. Yeah, bruh. That was so crazy, bruh. What? What are you guys doing here? What? What are you guys doing here? Oh my God. What are you guys doing here? I mean, what? What are you guys doing here, bruh? What does it look like then, bruh? I'm getting ready to go golfing, bruh. Yeah. Just answer your own question. Why would we play Fortnite? My cousin has his PlayStation back. We can just play GTA. So we can get him his $1 million. 10 mil in like 5 minutes, bruh. Well, I don't know. I haven't texted my cousin yet. So, who's calling you? So, who are you talking to? I'm talking. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's video. And in today's video, we are going to compare my mom's 2013 Volkswagen Jetta to her now 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan. So let's go ahead and let's review both of them, compare them and contrast them, the similarities and differences between the two, because some people may know these things.
Well, hold up, what? That doesn't even make any sense.
Hello guys, so today, before I get into it, I want to make a couple announcements. So please make sure that you like this video. It would really help me a lot. Make sure that you hit post notifications bell so that way you can stay in contact with my videos and you know when they come out. And number 3, hit that red subscribe button. Because here's the thing, I need to get to 1,000 subscribers, people. I mean, my channel is kind of slowing down a tad bit. I'm not getting 1,000 views per Roblox video. So I am going to be making more Roblox videos as we go along though. But please make sure that you like and comment and subscribe to this channel. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers. Now, of course, my short-term goal is 300 subscribers. So once we reach that, I'm going to bump it up 50. I'm going to keep on bumping it up 50, so that way we can eventually get up to 1,000 subscribers. And when we do reach 1,000 subscribers, there will be a specialty video that you guys will see. Anyway, so today we are going to make a couple announcements. First off, so this is going to be a face-to-face video. It's going to be a face video. It's not going to be those virtual lectures like we had to do in that dark, dreary basement. And, you know, because the thing about it is that I was very limited on how much I could film in that basement, primarily because of the circumstances. You know, I couldn't film inside the house, couldn't film anywhere within the interior or exterior of the house, or there was going to be it would not have been good. Would not be good. Thankfully it didn't happen, so all those other videos are going to be deleted and they're going to be redone. So that way you guys deserve to get the content you deserved and get the real me. Because the thing is that when you're living in someone else's house, especially in a place that doesn't have much very sound insulation, you know, there's not really much a secure place where you can talk what you want to talk about without hearing. Because the thing is, when I was in that basement, the overhead ceiling went right above the main floor of the house, and when there's somebody sitting up at a table on these meetings talking really loud like this, you know, and you know, getting into an extramarital debate and all this other stuff, you know, that stuff can be heard crystal clear, and probably vice versa. So for that reason, I couldn't really film during the daytime for that reason. And with all the barking from the dogs and all this noise and the pool balls hitting each other and all this other stuff, it was actually very complicated to film and being the real me. Now, I did film in my cousin Andrew's room a couple times, but he's like, you know, whatever. But, you know, and second of all was the internet. Because I'm a content creator and I had to upload content, for those who don't know, I had to get my MacBook fixed in November when the screen got broken back in July of 2021. I was getting my, you know, and when I started uploading videos again, immediately complaints were coming in about the internet service. And apparently my MacBook Pro apparently sucks up all the internet service. And there was an explanation for that. So because I had them on, because it was the editor I'm using when I export it, I had it on best ProRes, but then I put it down low and it lowered down the gigabytes, which it would actually take longer for it to upload than it would if it was at ProRes. So that is why I decided to do that, and it fixed the problem. You know, because with getting complaints about internet crashing and stuff, you know, of course it's all my fault, you know, about my fault why the internet's crashing and why no service. Because apparently my Mac is sucking up all the service. And it even happens when I'm not even uploading to. So, yeah. You know, and you know, it almost came to a point to where, am I going to be able to do YouTube? And thankfully I was able to get it worked out, because 6 months without making YouTube videos, it wouldn't be good. We wouldn't be where we are today with the amount of subscribers we have today if I did not get these videos up onto YouTube. But anyway, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the cars. So my mom had many different cars in her lifetime. One which was the 2013 Volkswagen Jetta. So my mom first got the Jetta. It was in 2016 when she had first gotten the Jetta, because she used to have a Mercedes SUV, which ended up having a lot of issues. It was a 2007. It was having issues. So she had went and sold it to somebody. Well, then she bought another car, an Infiniti sedan. I don't know the exact model number. It was 2004. Well, then that car ended up having issues, so she sold that one as well. Then she went and, she was driving a little Chevy Cobalt around, a little compact sedan, which is probably mostly equivalent to a subcompact sedan, base model. Ooh. And, it was a base model. It sucked. It had rolling windows, and it was basically a sucky car. I'm going to be honest about it. It was kind of sucky. And it was sucky. It wasn't all that good. But it got her around, but I just didn't like it too much. It wasn't a car you wanted to go on road trips with. It's a car for a single guy, basically. So then she got the Jetta. So she bought herself the Volkswagen Jetta, and it was a nice looking car. It was a very distinctive looking car. It didn't look like a Camry, didn't look like an Accord, didn't look like a Civic. It didn't look like anything like that. The Volkswagen Jetta has this distinctive appearance for this particular model. It has a very distinctive appearance. The tail lights kind of go in like a angle, where when you hit the brakes, it kind of gives you like this cool little flashy angle thing. And, the lights look really good. You can definitely tell it's a Jetta, without a doubt. And, the headlights looked really cool. They looked really sporty headlights. It looked really, really, really nice. And it had incandescent LED bulbs. Pretty much all the exterior lighting and the interior lighting of the car was incandescent. So she had the car, and it was a decent car. It could fit the space that you really need. It could fit enough people in the car. You could fit 3 people in the car. It was very roomy, very nice. But it didn't have the commodities that my mom's now Tiguan has. And so, like in the back seat, you had enough room. You weren't all squished. You had enough room. It's just that you didn't have any rear AC vents. You just had like a little cubby thing back there and just a cigarette lighter. But there was something weird about that car, is that you could actually unlock the back. You can unlock the car doors from the back seat, which I found pretty odd, because it really makes no sense on why you would do that, And so here's something that I found weird. So there was this guy, his car was the Cobalt, and his car was smoking gas, like it had this strong gasoline smell. So he went to take it all the way down to the Chevrolet dealership. And he goes to the Chevy dealership, and you know how people are at dealerships. They try to suck your attention in to get you to look at their cars, and that's pretty much what they do, but that's that. So we go down, we get the car, and on the car ride back, my mom's driving, right? He puts his hand on the back seat, on the back of the headrest in the back seat. And it's like adjacent to where I'm sitting. And he puts his hand right there, and it's like, and he puts his hand right there, and it's like, dude, you really got, be all awkward like that. You should just kind of just sit normally. Well, then someone else did it, and I'm like, is it like I mean, why are people doing that? Like maybe they just try to lean in. And I mean, the car was a nice car, looked really nice, and you know, it was a really, really nice car. And it was pretty easy to drive too. And it didn't have any steering wheel controls, didn't have any of that stuff. It basically was your standard car. It was basically a base model, but except it wasn't that much of a base model to the point to where you have manual windows, manual locks, like you do on some cars like the Nissan Versa. It did not have that. So that was actually kind of good. And, you know, that was good. So, but I mean, other than that, it was a decent car. But that car went through some troubles. So about a few months, about maybe a couple months after she had the car, she was in an accident with it. Now I might be thinking, well, you know, what exactly happened? So she was at Walmart, at a local Walmart that we lived at, within the area we lived at. And what happened is she was reversing. Well, no, she wasn't reversing. She was going down to the parking lot. And somebody had this girl, a 16-year-old girl, driving a Mazda Tribute. If you guys know what that is, it's a little compact SUV. Driving a Mazda Tribute with a tow hitch on the back of it. And the weird thing is, it wasn't the ball tow hitch. It was just it was the square. As she backs up and she completely does not even know what she was doing. You know, she plunged on the gas and she hit the gas, and this girl hit the gas and backed right into her car and sideswiped her entire car. It hit the doors were damaged, there were dents all over the doors. It was really bad. But the good news is, her car was not totaled. And this was a week after, well, not even a week after, a day after family left. And it hit her car, and it could have totaled it. You know, and it hit her car, it completely tore up the entire metal of the car. And it completely just ripped the metal right out. It just ripped it. And so after her car got hit, she stopped. The girl was so emotional. So she called the police. The police came, they did a report, they got insurance, they swapped insurances, and that basically was the end. I mean, it had to have been that bad because my mom had bought an air filter, you know, for your air vents in your house. Well, that air filter was completely bent and was crushed. So it must have been a pretty hard impact. And her car was all torn up, it was all messed up, and she was able to drive it, but you just couldn't open up any of the doors. And it had dents all over, and it was like, oh my God. So what happened is she got in touch with the other person's insurance company, and they had it be taken into a shop for her to get it fixed. So after they took it into a shop for her to get it fixed, they gave her a rental car. They gave her a brand new 2016 Chrysler 200. So after they gave her the Chrysler 200, she drove that for a little while. It was a decent car. It was a little more larger, and it was a lot more quieter. And so she drove that car for a little bit, drove that for like a week or two. Then she got her car back, and then that was the end of that. Then she got into another accident later in the year, and this was in 2016, the same year. She was in her car, and she was down somewhere, And it's one of those places where there's parking attendants and stuff. Now, I'm not going to give away the reveal location because some people are basically going to be away from outside my normal content range. So she pulled in the spot, and she was turning. Well, no, she was in the spot, and the parking attendant told her to move her, to straighten her car. So she has her car in reverse, and she goes and turns her car, and this older Camry, like a 2009 Camry, pulls in and hits the corner of her car. And the bumper gets dented, the bumper got dented. She called the police, and the police refused to come out. Now, I don't know if it was specific with the city or if it was with all around the U.S., but basically the police don't want to come if it's a fender bender. They're not going to want to respond if it's a fender bender. They only do that is if the person is refusing to give their insurance. But the thing is that some insurance companies require you to give a police report, so they have evidence of that. So she hit the car, and the Camry hit her, and the Camry just had a regular dent that could just be popped out, and my mom's car had 0 damage. Yeah, so that's the story of it. Let's go ahead and let's go on. So in 2019, my mom had got this Tiguan, the Volkswagen Tiguan, and it was the base model. Now, before we get into all the specs, we're going to talk about any incidents that happened with it. So, you know, that car has survived, what, 2009, 2020, 2021, 2022. And, you know, where's the nearest wood? Knock on wood, nothing happens to it, but, you know, she never had any accidents with it yet. And once again, knock on wood that she doesn't. Because, she was now here's a story. I was actually planning on making a video about this, but I actually was deciding about it, there's not really much to tell, but I'm going to go and throw this in there. So it was about a year after she got the car, which was in 2020, and she was with somebody. They went to the mall. They went to a mall, and they were in the parking lot. Well, supposedly what happened is that my mom was a victim of an insurance scam. Insurance fraud. Because here is the story. She pulls up to this lady, which I assume is like I think it was like a Mercury Mountaineer. I don't remember what it was, but it was not a sedan. It was actually too big to be a sedan, so it was an SUV. And they pull up, and the passenger gets out, and they said that he hit their driver's side, that they dinged the doors. Now, guys, I've had that happen. I've had people ding doors, and it's not fun to happen. I've had people ding the doors and all that type of stuff, and it really ticks a lot of people off because, they got to go and deal with insurance because it's basically a dent in the side of the door, depending if you hit that hard. Well, and I've had people that like banged my mirrors, for instance at Chrysler, there was this dude that was piling these kids in his minivan, and he banged the back of his arm into the Chrysler mirror. Thankfully nothing happened to it, but yeah. So, and it happens all the time, with door dinging. Because, when you get out of your car, sometimes there's enough space for you to completely open your door, and sometimes there isn't. And if you ding your door, people will get pretty PO'd. So what happened is they get out, they accused him of dinging the door. Well, the person gets all angry, like, oh, I didn't know, blah, 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 blah. And they basically escalated. Well, they went and took pictures of the incident. They took pictures of where the door hit. And it was on this little trim on their door. And there's these two little scratches on this door trim. And where it lines up at is it lines in between. So here's one scratch, here's the second scratch. Right here is where the door hits. Okay? There was completely no damage there. So they basically think it was insurance fraud. So, you know, they provide the insurances and all this stuff. Well then this girl that was the passenger seat calls up her father, which is this lady's son, and says, oh, blah, 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 and all this stuff. Well, he goes, oh, I'll be right there. So they go up to the car. So they go inside the mall, and they were followed into the mall, followed into the stores, everywhere they went. And they were in the stores, and they were inside the stores, and the father shows up. He comes up to them. He goes up and confronts the passenger in mom's car and says, oh, you're going to apologize to my mother for the way you spoke to her. And this is big dude. And by the way, this is all that my mom had told me and what I was told, by the way. And so she goes and so, you know, he's like, and you know, this guy is being all aggressive. He's like, oh, I'm not going to apologize, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, you're going to apologize. So, you know, my mom's like, oh, just apologize. Well, my mom was so angry that she wanted to go and get up in that guy's face and completely go crazy on him. Because there are other things that happened that my mom believes why the altercation happened. And I'm not really going to get into that because I don't want to start a huge debate and uproar on this channel about it. But, you know, this took place in 2020. So, you know, there were a lot of crap that went down in 2020. And I'm not just talking about COVID. I mean, I'm sure people know what I'm talking about. There were all these altercations and all these fights and, you know, all these things, all these Karens and stuff. It was crazy in 2020. People were really aggressive in 2020. Like, it was, I mean, you'd get into a fight with somebody for literally no apparent reason. You know what I mean? But this is beyond the point. So she believes it was something else about why the altercation happened. And it was a huge fight, and, you know, it was a huge fight, and, you know, it was a huge, you know, it was an altercation. So after they apologized, they left. Yeah. So my mom thinks it was insurance fraud, and that's what it was. Now you might be wondering, well, what could have been the alternate source? What could have been the alternative? I can't even figure the words right now. I'm just so bad at, sometimes I just don't even know how to speak sometimes, so. But anyway, what could have been done differently? What should have done? Now, if I was there, I probably would have noticed that we were being followed. Because I'm pretty aware of my surroundings when I'm in public, especially in malls and things like that. If I saw those people stalking us, I would have immediately noticed it. Now, here's something my mom could have done. My mom should have moved the car. She should have moved it. Because the thing is, if you have somebody that's angry or aggressive, yeah, I understand you want to go inside the mall. But the thing about it is, when you got somebody aggressive and angry, and that man, he could have very easily could have vandalized the car while they were inside the store. Because when you got somebody who is angry and all this stuff, they can easily go up to your car and they could have messed with it. They could have, popped your tires or smashed your windows or break your taillights, break your headlights, smack your mirrors off, or even frickin' mess with your license plate. So my mom should have moved the car, parked someplace else. If they were still being followed, she should have called the police and said, hey, I got this people that are stalking me. We just dinged doors. I trade insurances, and they're stalking me. And they would have gotten the police involved. Now, of course, the guy going inside the mall and confronting her and the person, that would have actually that would have definitely been the bell ringer. That should have been like, okay, we need to call the cops or get security, and they would have handled with it, because there were a lot of messed up crap that happened in 2020, and so all that because of an insurance fraud. And here's my suspicion why it was insurance fraud, is because here's the thing. Volkswagen cars have higher insurance than non-Volkswagen cars, non-German cars, basically. And because my mama has a Volkswagen, they basically thought, okay, well, maybe we can probably get like $83,000 over something stupid, But I mean, had my mom not had a Volkswagen, she probably wouldn't have gotten scammed. Probably not. Now, of course, these scams always happen. There's people that would reverse into you and make it look as if you rear-ended them, or vice versa. And that's why it's important to have a dash cam in your car. I talked to my mom about having a dash cam in her car, and she does not want a dash cam in her car. I told her she needs to get a dash cam in her car because if something were to happen. And she's like, oh, it's just going to be all distracting. Well, it's not going to distract you as long as you put it up behind your mirror, and then when something happens, you just hit the save button, and then bam, you have evidence if something happens, And she didn't listen. But definitely, had I been there, I could have actually noticed that we were being stalked, and I would have said something a lot sooner. And I probably would have, Now, what would say if I was in that passenger seat? What would I do? Well, first of all, I wouldn't escalate it like that. I would try to keep everybody calm, try to keep the situation calm. And if the guy came up to my face anyway, I would have went completely ape. If he had assaulted me, then he would go to jail. I mean, all that just for that is just ridiculous. So that really was something that happened with my mom's car, but realistically, it's fine, But now her car has had a couple flat tires. I know that within the first year she had it, she had a flat tire. She actually had a couple flat tires actually, and and that's what had happened, and that was it all. Anyway, let's get into specs. So, she brings it home, and a look over everything, and it seems kind of a little bit more advanced than the Jetta, but it really isn't that much different than the Jetta, and here's how I'm going to explain it. So there are a few things that are different about it in regards to its features. Is the Jetta is that it has a infotainment system where it has a touchscreen and all that. It has an infotainment system. It has Android Auto and all those things. The only thing it does not have is a CD player. It does not have a CD player. So without that CD player, You know, old CDs are not really worth it, but you can use an SD card for the car. But that's the way it works. Now it does have Android Auto and all that stuff, CarPlay, all that stuff. It's just that some things, like it doesn't have, is that it has a backup camera. Now the Jetta did not have a backup camera. You didn't really need a backup camera to really drive the Jetta, but it was a kind of a hectic thing without the backup camera because you might not have close yard or something. Not only that, it has not only that, but it has what's it called? Is that it has some features that the Jetta did not. It has blind spot detection. It has the start and stop. And it pretty much has everything that you would expect from it. Now is that the front seats are more comfortable than the back seats. The back seats are kind of not all that comfortable because, you know, the back seats are hard. They're not really all that comfortable. So that's that. But the front seats are more comfortable than the back seats. You know, the back seats are like, they're kind of like this. You know, they're not all that it's not all that comfortable. And but the thing it does have is that it has rear AC vents, it has a power port, and all those things that you would expect in a car. Now here's something weird. They put the rear cargo light in the cubby of the car instead of putting it up above where it would shine down into the cargo area, illuminating the cargo area. That's not the case. They put it in the little cubby hole, and if that cubby hole is blocked, then you pretty much got no light to see when you're loading and unloading things. Is the seats are very complicated to fold down. They don't fold down like on some cars. It's kind of a bit of a trick to really get them to fold down. You know, in regards to space, there is a decent amount of space if the seat is pushed forward. If the seat is pushed forward, then you would have more leg room. But the leg room is decent. It has a decent amount of leg room, which the seats can also be adjusted. The third row is pretty much useless. I mean, if you're ever going to use the third row, you would want to use it for like babies or something, or little kids. Because the third row is so small, you can't even sit back there. If you're an adult, you have to be like 3 feet to really be able to fit back there and actually sit comfortably. The seats are like teeny tiny. It is not even comfortable at all. You can't even sit back there. That's how it is. And if you had to fit an extra person, they pretty much would have to sit in the trunk of the car, and that would just be too much. But yeah, you can't even fit back there at all. Period. It does have you know, some interesting features. So the car has a mix of incandescent and LED lights. The incandescent lights are the lights that are the headlights and the front turn signals. On the mirrors, they have LED lights. They're LED, but on the regular headlights, they're not. They're all incandescent. But it does have LED daytime running lights, which is good, so that way she doesn't have to worry about the running light bulbs going out and having to get them replaced. So that's kind of good. And it also has, now here's something interesting. The tail lights are 100% LED. They're LED tail lights, and so that's kind of good. And but it's kind of like really weird looking, you know. It kind of looks like a Mercedes or something, you know. And you know how Mercedes makes their tail lights look like that shape. Yeah, that's what her car looks like. There are also some things to, like, it doesn't have a sunroof. Yeah, it does not have a sunroof. Nor did the Jetta have a sunroof. The Jetta did not have a sunroof. Or maybe the Jetta did have a sunroof. I don't think it had a sunroof. Yeah, it did not have a sunroof. The Jetta did not have a sunroof. But and nor did the Tiguan. In regards to driving it, the Tiguan is a little more larger to drive, but once you pretty much get the hang of it, you'll pretty much get the hang of it. But the only thing is that the brakes are extremely sensitive, and I know from experience because I was one time moving my mom's car once, and I was moving it, and I was like really rough on the brakes, and like the car was like jerking. Andrew was in his Mini, and he leans forward and looks, and he like shakes his head at me like I'm moving the car so I can get the car to be back to get the snow. And you know, I've reversed a couple times, but it just takes time getting used to because I'm used to clanking the brakes, you know, from driving a Jeep for like a year and then now back to driving that again. You know, it's crazy. Now, let's talk about how does it do. How does it compare? What's the differences between the two? So the Jetta is your typical sedan. It's small, doesn't have a lot of trunk space, doesn't have a lot of interior space, but it does have kind of a sportier, you know, appearance to it. Now the engine was not all that sporty. It kind of had a slower engine. I think it was like a V6 or something. I don't really know. And I think that my mom's car now, the Tiguan, might have a V8. I don't know. It might just have a regular V6. I really don't know. Yeah, and you know, and it does kind of have a bit of sport to it, you know. Now the thing about the Tiguan is that it does not have any advantage over traction in regards to the Jetta. The traction on the Tiguan is pretty bad. It slides in rain, it slides in snow, of course. It is basically just standard no, it's not rear wheel drive, but it's front wheel drive. It's not rear wheel drive, it's front wheel drive. The Jetta was the one that was the rear drive. Anyway, so yeah, so it doesn't really excel any different than that. It's just that when you're driving, is that the Tiguan has more safety features than the Jetta, and it kind of has more advantages than the Jetta, but you know, it's the way it is. Now the thing about the Tiguan is that the trunk space is not all that good, especially if you have that third row up. With that third row up, you really don't have very much trunk space, and that's typical of cars that have third rows. But there's not a lot of space. There's not really that much space, and you know, if you have to haul large items you can't really get stuff in there all that good. But it drives good, it runs good, and that's pretty much all that matters, and there's really not much to really say about it. Now, do I like the Tiguan? It's decent for what it is, but it's not my type of vehicle that I would want to own and drive, because that I would want to own, because I'm not really a small SUV guy. I'm more of a larger vehicle guy, like trucks and those type of vehicles. And but other than that, I mean, it's pretty much nothing. It's pretty much similar to the Jetta in regards to the interior and all that. Now I was kind of looking back, like, well, maybe my mom should have just gotten another Jetta, and she didn't want another Jetta. It was base model, kind of sucked and was on it good, and that's just the way it goes. But anyway, so that's today's video, talking about the Jetta and the Tiguan. But there is one more thing I have to say. When we first got the Jetta, I noticed that there were a lot of people that would look at you. And I don't know if this is other people that have Jettas and stuff like that, but people would look at you like the Jetta is like an Audi, which I mean Volkswagen cars kind of do look like Audis in a way, but you can clearly tell it's not an Audi. And there are people that would lean and look at you, and they would full on look at you, and and not to also mention, the Tiguan has tinted windows in it. The Tiguan has tinted windows. The Jetta did not have tinted windows, so that's kind of a plus, because people be looking at you or that kind of stuff. But I mean, like I said, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, so that's it for today's video. Make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And please keep in mind that that I'm trying to put out some better content for you guys, but it's just taking some time. But now that we're back to normal, we should be able to put out more content. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and see ya. And by I mean by see ya. See ya later, alligator. See you guys. Alrighty, buddy. Where's the keys?
Jetta. No, you keep turning it. Stop turning it. Go
Okay.
right way. We're taking an Uber to Jetta. All right, now turn. Okay. A little bit. Straight, straight, straight.
Which way do I need to? Which way do I need to turn?
A smidge.
Like that?
Tristan, you got more room. You have more room. A little bit. Yeah.
Stop.
You're good.
All right.
Oh, really?
There we go. After today's Wayback Machine, there's an exit ticket in School Google. And so, make sure you complete it, and make sure you subscribe. And by the power of Jumanji and Miss Gina, I'll see you in another video. Ah.